Howdy everybody, what's up fam? It's your boy, the Prep and Pimp. Here, we got some weather coming in. If you look at the map, it looks like everybody's getting hammered with snow and ice and everything like that. So you want to be ready, you know. For instance, over here I have a little backup heater. You can get these infrared heaters for, I don't know, anywhere from $50 to $100 roughly. These things work really well, especially if you need to power it off of a generator or a small battery pack or something like that. You can run these. Speaking of battery packs, I got one of those right here. You definitely want to have something like this, a Jackery or even, what are they called? EcoFlow, all that stuff. Those are great to have in case the power goes out. You at least have some way to charge your cell phone. You know, you could even run your internet off that because those routers and everything, they don't take much power. Another thing, I like to have at least two ways to back up heat. I've got these run on these propane tanks. You can also get a hose that goes from here to a big propane tank, and you could run this thing. This thing will heat pretty much your whole house, at least to some degree. Same premise. This is a little camping stove. If the power goes out, you're not going to be able to use your stove. You need to think of some way that you're going to be able to feed your family, feed yourself, feed your pets possibly. You know, you gotta make sure everybody's taken care of. You want to have lighting. You know, I got this little string light here. These things are handy. This one runs on D-cell batteries. You just replace those. I got this one here. This one's sorry.
Thanks.
I got this one here. This is just a rigid flashlight. Comes with my kit. You know, I'm a carpenter, so I got a lot of tools, and I got a bunch of these batteries. And you know, you can use this, and in the case of an emergency, you can light your way to the bathroom or whatever you need to do. Go inspect the outside of your house if there's issues out there. Lots of extra batteries. You want to make sure you got batteries. Candles are great. They'll actually heat up your room a little bit. If you got a couple candles going, it'll warm it up a couple degrees. You know, can make it smell a little better. You know, you can hunker down into one room. You can blanket off doors. You can blanket off windows. There's a lot of things you can do. Just think about insulating your environment if it's really getting that cold and it's dangerous. Another thing, sterno. You can use these as heat. I mean, in an emergency situation, if you hunker down in a room and you put one of these, and I put something underneath of it that won't burn, maybe like a tile or a rock or something like that, something that can't burn. I put that underneath this. You could run this, and if it's really an extreme situation, this could save your life. You know, there's two of them in here. You know, you use them one at a time, and believe it or not, heating up the room a couple degrees can make that difference. Another thing you're going to want a source of food. If you don't have any way, like a cooking stove, things like that, you know, if you don't have a generator, you're going to need a way to eat. These MREs, these are a lifesaver, you know. They're not great, but they will keep you alive, and they will keep you fed and keep you relatively healthy. So I recommend these, especially if you got a bug out or something like that. These are great. Water. This is not all the water I have. I have a lot of water. I got 5-gallon buckets. I've got, you know, probably 15 more jugs like this. You want to have water that you can drink. That's typically what I put in these jugs, but you can use it to wash your hands. You can use it to wash your dishes. You can use it to, you know, do all the things you need to do. Large buckets of water, you're going to want a couple of those. The reason why, you can gravity flush your toilet. Even if the plumbing goes down, even if your well's shut down, you know, because there's no electricity or whatever, you can take those buckets, dump them in the top of the tank, and then flush your toilet. So basically just want to touch on those things. I want to, you know, take care of all my friends and family, make sure they know about it. You know, just be prepared, you know. I don't know. These guys, they don't really know what's going on, but it could get bad, and we want to be ready for that.
Tell them what you did to the well.
Oh yeah, I built a little house for my well, or our well. I built a little house for it, and I insulated it with foam insulation because last year our well froze. So I had to get out there with a heat gun the next morning, and I was scared to death that we had a leak under the house, so I crawled underneath the house to make sure nothing was leaking because I didn't know if a pipe was burst. All I knew was there was no water. So I took a heat gun, put it out in the well, and basically just turned it real low and just let it heat that well up, and finally we got our water back. But this year, hopefully I don't have to do that. I'll let y'all know if I do. I've got another plan. If I have to add, I'm going to add a light inside that box, and that should keep it warm enough. But outside of that, just do everything you can to insulate your environment. Make sure you've got the things you need. Make sure you have your food. If it's icy out there, you're not going to want to be driving. People are crazy. And keep some spare money on hand. Not a whole lot, but probably keep a little bit of cash, because if the machines are down and everything, you might not be able to get something if you need it. So having a couple bucks on hand, help you out. So,
And you might want things like a can opener. If you don't have power, your electric can openers aren't going to work, so you're going to need a way to open the food so that you can eat.
oh, gas cans. Get a couple gas cans and fill them up if you got a generator, and make sure your tanks are full in your vehicles as well. In case you do have to evac, you have to leave the site and go find somewhere else to be. Sometimes, you never know. A tree could fall on your house. It could, you could have to bug out. So that's about it, fam. Much love.